A few weeks ago, I bought some titanium tetrachloride, which I heard is one of the most obnoxious chemicals. It came in this nice elongated tuna can, and it was wrapped up in a little blanket. When it was just sitting in a bottle like this, it wasn't too scary, but it still took a little while to get the courage to open it. So now, I finally feel ready to crack it open, and I for sure have to do it in my fume hood. Almost immediately, a bunch of white smoke started pouring out. This is a mixture of hydrochloric acid and titanium oxides, which form as the titanium tetrachloride, reacts with oxygen and moisture in the air. If I open this outside my fume hood, it would easily fill the room with a haze, and it also wouldn't be very healthy to breathe. But anyway, what I've always wanted to do was try and soak a super ball in it. So, I dropped in one that I got from the dollar store, and I let it sit for a couple minutes. When it was done, it had completely changed colors, and it kind of looked like a little planet. I don't know for sure, but this has to be the world's smokiest ball.
Fact that I kind of forget sometimes, I went to college and I got a genetics degree. So I'm going to show you how to get DNA out of this strawberry. This one's kind of moldy, so I figured that's the best thing to do with it. My little lab right now, it's a shoebox so you guys can see it. I couldn't really figure out how to do the angles, but everything you need to do it is in your kitchen, so let's go. The first thing you need to do is put it in this bag and smash it. We're doing this because the DNA in strawberries, or in all plants and fruit and all that, is actually inside cell walls, so we gotta mush it up and get it out of there. Okay, so I've been at that for a while and it's pretty mushed up now. We've mechanically broken down the cell walls, we smushed them, but now we need to kind of chemically break down the cell walls. I made this little mixture before. It's just water, salt, and dish soap, like 5 parts water, 1 part salt, and 2 parts dish soap. We're gonna take 2 little spoonfuls of it and put it in this bag. And then once you've done that, just zip it up again and smush it. Just make sure not to make a ton of bubbles, but really smush it in there and mix it up. It's kind of making some bubbles, but fun fact, we share about 50% of our DNA with the strawberry, so that's fun. Okay, I think it's mushed up enough. Still a little bit bubbly, so I'm gonna let it calm down. Now I'm gonna strain all the big parts. I'm just gonna pour it into a clean cup with a coffee filter. Put it in there like... I paused it because it was making a mess, but this is gonna separate all of our broken down cell components and our DNA, because our DNA should be in the liquid now and not in the bits of cells that are just kind of floating around, all that junk in there. So squeeze the liquid out. So I have the little leftover liquid in here. And next I'm gonna pour some rubbing alcohol over the top. Okay, I changed the angle on this because you really gotta watch what's happening here. Pour that on top. Stuff that's coming up to the top right there that's floating, that is the DNA. I don't quite know the best angle to show this, but all the white stuff right there, that is the DNA that came right out of the strawberry. Here's a little top-down view of it. Isn't it pretty? And if you want to see it closer, you can actually reach in and pull it out, and look, is that not so cool? That's all DNA. And fun fact, DNA is actually a sugar, so what do you think would happen if you put it in water?
For it. Whoa! Now you may have seen a Rubens tube before. That's basically a pipe with a bunch of holes in it, and you pump in a flammable gas and light it on fire. So you basically create a row of Bunsen burners. What's really cool is to play some sounds into the tube, and you can actually set up standing waves. Whoa. That is, there are areas, there are patterns of the vibration of the air where there's a lot of vibration in some parts and not very much vibration in other parts. Now that affects the flow rate of the gas inside that tube into the atmosphere, and so it affects the height of those flames. So basically you can visualize the standing wave pattern. I'm currently in Denmark with a team of physics and chemistry demonstrators who have taken this experiment to the next level. They've actually created a 2-dimensional...
Everyone, I'd like you to meet Jake Perry. Mr. Perry here has been able to raise the world's oldest cat. twice. So his first record-breaking feline went by the name of, and I'm not kidding here, Grandpa Rex Allen. There he is, old Gramps. Grandpa Rex Allen lived from 1964 to 1998, living to be 34 years old. Jesus, that's an old cat. Our next contender is Cream Puff. For full context, Cream Puff is 29 years old in this photo. Cream Puff was born in 1967, and this photo was taken in 1996. Yo, I'm only 25, bro. Cream Puff lived to be an astonishing 38 years old, passing away in 2005. Mr. Perry claims to have found the secret to feline longevity. I mean, I don't know about you, but I believe the guy. He says it's all in the diet. He feeds them dry cat food, supplemented with broccoli, eggs, turkey bacon, coffee and cream, and once every 2 days he gives them an eyedropper with red wine. It sounds to me like homeboys made some kind of potion to give these cats a couple extra lives, bro, but like, hey man, whatever works.
Good morning. We've got a nice big order today. Someone wants a custom rainbow titanium mix. So I've got about 300 rings here in 18 gauge 1/8, and we will cycle through all of the colors today. I just need an arbitrary spoonful of each color, so let's begin. First we start with that beautiful silky bronze color. But most people don't want brown in their rainbow mix, so we're actually going to skirt right past this one and jump into the eggplant. This process is called electrical anodizing. It's not the same as the anodizing you do to aluminum, so even though they're called the same thing, don't get them mixed up. That beautiful eggplant is coming in nicely. You can see some of the edge rings are still bronze, but that doesn't really matter. We just need a little scoop of the eggplant. And now we're going to shift it up to a nice royal blue. You can see the parts where the wand is touching are getting a stronger current, and then the current has to travel out to the edges. Remember, what I'm creating here is a light refraction, so it's going to look a slightly different color under the surface versus over the surface. I know that my phone camera is not the best, so sometimes it won't look like the color has even shifted at all, but you're just going to have to trust me on that one. It will be a little easier to see as I start to pile them side by side. We've got the purple, we've got the dark blue, and now we're going for a nice light icy blue. Oh, the icy blue is one of my favorite colors. It's so frosty. Looking pretty good. Now we'll crank the voltage up a little higher because the voltage is what determines the next color. So I basically max out the color every time I put the wand in. It won't make any difference if I leave it in longer because I've already set it to the highest setting that I want the color to be. So right now I'm aiming for more of a gold color, which tends to be a tricky color to get. It's between blue and pink, so sometimes it's a little greenish or a little rosy. But a scoop of this rosy color should look very nice in the mix.
Would not do this in your front yard because you could end up getting yellow jackets instead of this cicada killer, which may look intimidating, but it lives alone, is non-aggressive, and has a very weak sting.
Skull identification speedrun, ready, set, go. Pick up the tag, species name is covered up. Flip it over, it says Kenya, East Africa. I think this is a fish. To double check, we count the bones in the skull. One in the top, one in the bottom, lots of teeth, definitely not a fish. Fish have tons of bones to create that skull. I think this is a mammal. To double check, look at the lower jaw. It's made out of one strong bone, confirmed a mammal. What type? Lots of space in between that eye and that nose, and if I stick my fingers in here, boom, boom, you can see them on the other side. This is an eye bar. Those are traits of Aerodactyla. Going to the front, look here, we have no upper incisors on that tooth. This is a grazer right here. It eats like grasses and leaves. What kind? Okay, look at the top right here. We have 2 ossicones. These are not horns, they're ossicones. No sheaths on these. This is family Giraffidae. 2 species in that family. You have okapis and giraffes. To figure out which one, we look at the top. These are rounded, they're not pointy. This is top of the time confirmed a giraffe, Giraffa camelopardalis. Let's freaking go!
You ask, you shall receive. Here we are, week 3 after the COVID-19 booster. So in addition to my samples, I'm also looking at the samples from patients 3 to 4 weeks from PCR-confirmed COVID-19 to look at natural immunity. You know the drill, let's develop this assay. No, it's not food coloring or Windex. It is an HRP-catalyzed redox reaction with 3355 TMB as a substrate. Duh. This machine is a spectrophotometer. It turns the colors in the well into hard numbers for analysis. Alright, let's look at the data here. We see pre-vaccination, February of this year, 1 month after the second dose of Pfizer, which is the peak. 5 months later, we see it's down by almost half. Pre-booster is 8.5 months in. And of course, 1 and 3 weeks after the booster, where the levels are sky high. They're so high, in fact, that they're beyond the range of this assay. Now let's look at natural immunity. So my assay is definitely able to detect antibodies in all these patients, but compared to mine, you be the judge.
This is just a regular beaker, and I want to make it disappear. To do this, I'll put it in another beaker, and I'll pour in a goopy liquid. At first, this isn't too interesting, and the fun only happens when the goo starts overflowing. Now, almost like magic, the beaker slowly disappears. This is happening because the liquid, which is actually just vegetable glycerin, bends light in almost the exact same way as the glass. This makes it nearly impossible to see when it's submerged, and the glass just blends in with the rest of the glycerin. The beaker is of course still there, but I think it's surprising how well it's hidden.